In this video, we're going to be talking about the most cost-effective way to sell your home. Now, we're going to be talking about discount brokerage versus full-service brokerages versus selling to an investor versus for sale by owner, or actually using an attorney to help you with the paperwork and things. We'll walk you through that. But before we get started with that, guys, let's talk about you. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, guys, look around the screen. You're going to see our Calendly. Maybe look down below in the notes and so forth. You'll see a link to our Calendly. Love the opportunity to talk with you, set up a 15 to 30 minute consultation. We'll sit down with you, talk about your needs, what the market's like, the opportunities they are in the market, and how we can help you out. Okay. Also, if you're somebody who stays updated regarding the real estate market, guys, look around the screen, look down below, and you see our subscribe button. Subscribe to our channel. Love to have you here with us. Okay. And again, in this video, we're going to be talking about the most cost-effective way to sell your home. One of the things you're thinking, you go, Ron, hey, didn't we have this big change now where they say that buyers have to pay their own agents and things? We did have something like that come down. Now, what happens is they rule that buyers have to pay their own agent and things. And what ends up happening is the buyer and their agent is going to create an agreement before they start looking at homes, and they're going to agree on a commission rate. Now, what's going to end up happening, and again, that commission rate is going to be anywhere from about 2.5% to 3% typically here in the East Bay. Now, one of the things that's going to happen is when they make an offer, they're going to ask the seller for a concession to pay that buyer's agent commission. Now, why they're doing that is you got to remember that the buyers is typically the poorest person in the transaction. They're coming up with a down payment. They got to come up with their closing costs. They got to think about moving costs and so forth, maybe repairs on the home, that kind of stuff. So one of the things is to attract, remember, demand is what drives the price in your home. So to attract as many people as possible, you want to create a situation where you're looking at offers that also are going to have a concession where you, the seller, would actually pay the buyer's agent commission. And there's going to be more buyers can afford that. That's going to bring more buyers to your home. That's going to create more demand for your home. That's going to create more competition for your home. That's going to get you a higher price. And what we end up doing is looking at the net return. And so by looking at what you earn on the property, things you're going to be paying for, or what the sale price is, and things you're going to be paying for, we're going to look at the net return on it. Now, again, as I said earlier, in this video, we're going to be talking about the most cost-effective way of selling your home. And there's a couple different ways of selling out there. Again, I said full-service brokerages, discount brokerages. You can sell to an investment company. You can do it for sale by owner, or you can sell and use an attorney to actually do the paperwork and stuff. So we're going to be going through all that, looking at the benefits of all. So the first part we're going to talk about is full service brokerage. Now, full service brokerage is basically what I do, and it's what it says, full service. They take over, not take over, but they really involved in each and every step of the transaction with you. You're typically looking at commission of about 5 to 6%. One of the things is that includes both sides, buyer and seller, both getting about 2.5 to 3%. Now, it is negotiable, and one of the things that ends up happening is in some situations, you can go down to 4% on both sides. Where situations where that is where you have a realtor who's on both sides of the transaction, representing both you and the buyer. Now, not something that I typically recommend and so forth, but there is that particular situation that's out there. Now, typically what ends up driving the commission is a lot of times brokerages will not, full service brokerages will not let their agents go below a certain level. So that's one of the things that's also a driver in the commission. But let's talk a little bit about what a full service broker does for you. National Association of Realtors has a lot of information on this on the internet, but I think one of the things that's really key that I'll key on is what an agent does for you in the sale price. Nationally, they sell the home. If you sell with an agent, it's going to sell for about 14% more, or about $55,000 more. Nationally, they say homes not sold by agents sells for about $380,000. Homes sold with an agent sell on average for about $435,000. If you're talking 14%, that's nationally. You come to the East Bay, we, our average price is over $900,000. You sell an $800,000 home and sell for 14% more. That's $120,000. So looking at return on investment, looking at full service agents, probably a pretty significant or good return on investment. Now, there are really 5 things that I think an agent does for you. And this is where a good agent's going to excel and really make a difference with you. Number 1 is creating demand for your home. Now, remember, demand is what drives the price of your home. Demand gets you the highest price, creates competition for your home, brings as many people to your home as possible. And a good agent's really going to help you create a lot of demand. Now, there's a bunch of ways of doing that, really how the home looks, the repairs that's done on the home, the pictures, the pricing, when the home's available to show and so forth, all goes into really creating demand. When the home goes on the market and so forth, it all goes in to create demand for the home. Another thing is return on investment. You're going to do work on the home and so forth, and return on investment is thinking about how much money you spend and what the outcome's going to be, how much money you're going to get back. Sometimes you could paint a house for a couple $1,000s and get $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 return on investment. So that's number 2. Number 3 is they're going to look at creating a strategy with you to help you identify who the top buyers are. They're going to teach you to keep the home on the market long enough, or create a strategy to keep the home on the market long enough to attract the buyers, compare them side by side, help you identify the best buyers. You're looking at that net return, as I spoke about earlier, which ones are actually going to have the best opportunity to actually end up at the end of escrow closing. That's what a good realtor is going to do for you. Number 4, they're going to help you negotiate. Not only negotiate, they're going to create a strategy to give you a competitive advantage in the negotiations. So negotiating for you with the other agent, negotiating on your behalf, but also helping you create a strategy to really kind of put you in that best position for negotiation. And finally, help you managing risk and help you through the process. This is things like paperwork, dealing with escrow, title, trust, so forth, paying off lenders, getting prelims, inspections, that kind of stuff. Good realtor is going to help you through all of that process, and it's going to have the experience to be an advisor to contribute significantly to getting you the best price and terms with your contract. Okay, so let's go into the next section now. The next way of selling your home is to sell to investors or companies looking to buy your home. Now, I've seen a lot of things on TV and so forth where they really talk about making it easy, not having to deal with open houses and so forth. Here's the thing, guys. Remember, I've said this now a couple times. Demand is what drives the price of your home. When you have one buyer, there's no competition, not a lot of demand. That is the downside to selling your home like this. Also, you got to remember, these are businesses, investors and so forth that are looking to buy your home at a discount to be able to turn around and sell it at some point in time. Also, another thing to be cautious of, a lot of times these investors or companies looking to buy your home are looking to go through a process they call a signing. So they will get in the contract, and one of the things that will happen is they will try to find another buyer and assign it to that buyer. So sometimes you end up in contract for a longer period of time, and it simply ends up being a third person like a realtor selling your home. The other thing that happens in the process, remember, these companies are acting on their own behalf. They are professional realtors with legal backing, with legal advice and so forth, potentially very deep pockets, and they're acting in their best interest. So consequently, you are in a position where you're representing yourself when working with these companies, and they're looking to actually get the best deal they can in the transaction. In a lot of cases, you end up having to use their documents and things. So again, probably the biggest thing is, guys, when looking at selling to investors or selling to these companies, sometimes buy homes and things, again, your demand is low because you're only selling to one person. By looking at going out on the market, putting it out there, you're presenting it to many different people, you're creating a lot of demand for your home and driving the price up. The next way to sell your home is looking at discount brokerages. And again, it's just what it says. they're a discount, they're a little bit cheaper and things in the process of selling your home. Now, one of the things also, remember I talked about those 5 things, creating demand, return on investment, strategy for identifying the right buyers, looking at the strategy for negotiating the process, also managing risk and managing the sales process and escrow and so forth. What ends up happening when you're looking at discount brokerage, some of those things are eliminated. They're not walking you through many of those things. In discount brokerage, you're typically talking about realtors who are managing many more transactions. Good active realtors may be managing 3 to 5 transactions at any given time. So they're really they're able to focus in on your needs and so forth. Discount brokerage, they're probably handling a lot more. So you end up falling short in some cases. Some of those 5 things are really kind of missed. One of the things you see out there's a lot of advertising, 1% selling fee. You got to really look into that, see what that's talking about. You'll find that most of these companies are looking at offering the 1%. It's if the home sells for $1 million or over. And there's another side of it. You've got to look at what the buyer's agent is going to be asking for. And typically they're going to be looking at 2.5%. So it ends up being a little bit more. Also, you got to dig a little deeper into it and look at what the fees are and so forth. Sometimes there are other fees that's in there. So you want to make sure you're talking to the company and asking about other fees that may appear on there. Also, again, remember those 5 things that I told you about the agents do for you. Discount brokerage, they're not going to do all 5 of those for you. So there's going to be some things where you're falling short there, okay? And each discount brokerage is slightly different. You're not sure which areas they're not going to help you out in. The other thing that's pretty popular is for sale by owner, and you hear about that quite a bit. Now, here's the thing. When you start looking at for sale by owner, guys, again, $55,000 more when you actually sell with a real estate agent versus, trying to sell for yourself. So significant difference there. Now, the other thing, remember the 5 things I told you about, a lot of cases, as a homeowner selling your first home, none of these things are going to be familiar to you. When you deal with a realtor, you're actually looking at somebody who's going to be a good realtor, is going to be somebody who's familiar with all those 5 steps in the home selling process. Now, the last step is really an attorney. Attorneys in a lot of cases will step in and do the paperwork for you. Now, if you're selling using for sale by owner, a lot of times you can go to an attorney and they'll charge you significantly less just to actually do the paperwork. Now, one of the things to understand that attorneys are not realtors, so they're not gonna understand creating demand for the home. They're not gonna understand the situations where you're looking at return on investment when doing things to the home and so forth. So you miss out on some of those processes. They may be able to help you out with managing risks and definitely help you out with getting the paperwork done. But still, there are certain areas that you're falling short there. Again, guys, just a quick high-level overview of different ways of selling your home and also what the most cost-effective way of selling your home. When you start talking about the most cost-effective, you look at return on investment. You start looking at full-service brokerages because there's a couple things they do. It's looking at creating demand for your home. They're going to actually help you look at return on investment based how much money you're putting out versus how much money you're getting back for the sale of the home. Creating a strategy to identify that top buyer for you. Also, looking at negotiating and giving yourself a competitive advantage in the negotiations. And finally, looking at the process, helping you manage risk and manage the process, take care of paperwork and so forth. And that's where they kind of really excel and where you're getting the best return on the value, or where it's probably the most effective way of selling a house. Guys, as I said earlier, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, we love the opportunity to talk to you. Look around the screen. You can see our Calendly link. It may be down below in the comment. Go out there, set up a 15 to 30 minute consultation. We'll talk about your needs, the opportunity in the markets, and how we can help you out. Also, if you're somebody who's staying updated regarding the real estate market, look around the screen. You can see our subscribe button. Love the opportunity to have you here on our channel with us. Okay, have a great rest of your week. I'll talk to you now. Bye-bye. Hey guys, how you doing? Hey, if you're looking to buy a home here in the East Bay, look around our site. You're going to find our home search site. Go out there free of cost and find your dream home. We're posting homes daily in all locations in the Bay Area and all price ranges. Also, if you're selling your home, also go out there. You'll see our home evaluation site. It will keep you updated on what your home's worth. And if you're ready to talk about buying your next home or selling your home, click below and you'll be able to set up a 15 to 30 minute consultation with us, okay? Reach out to us directly also with a phone call. Thanks now. Bye-bye.